I feel like there's always this awkward point in time when Instagram lives start. No one jumps on right at first. Instagram sends a notification, and then for us, if we're lucky, we get a couple people to join in live. I'll wait until the first couple people start to come in, and then we can get into episode 5 of Coffee Conversations. This will be part 3 of our 4-part series around training versus exercising. Also, for anyone that receives our monthly newsletters, we had a blog post. I wrote a blog post this month about part 2 of this 4-part series around training versus exercising, specific to programming workouts appropriately for individuals, whether they are training or exercising. This Instagram Live will be around nutrition. So the way that we should be fueling our bodies for training activities versus the way we should be fueling our bodies if we are purely just working out for the purpose of exercising, to feel good and to have our movement fuel other aspects of our life and improve other aspects of our life. So we've got a couple people that have joined in, so we can go ahead and get started now. As always, this will be posted on our Instagram TV, the series for Coffee Conversations. It'll also be posted to our story, so you can find it that way. But as I was mentioning, part 3 of a 4-part series around the difference between training and exercising. Part 1 was just a high-level overview, differentiating training versus exercising. Part 2 was around programming workouts for individuals that are training for something versus individuals who are exercising, like I said, just to feel good and improve other aspects of their life. Part 3, this video today, will be around nutrition. So when we start to talk about nutrition, as it relates to training versus exercising, it's important to preface all of this by, again, explaining the fact that when you are training for something, your goal is to improve your performance at whatever it is you are trying to compete at. So I see Paula jumped into the Instagram Live here. She is a professional golfer, so we can use golf as an example here, and it's a great example because we actually work with some professional golfers, both male and female. Professional golf is an interesting sport to be talking about nutrition because of the fact that you are performing your activity for an extended period of time. You're out on the golf course from anywhere between 5 to 7 hours once you factor in warm-ups and however long your 18-hole round might take. So when we start to talk about nutrition for performance or for training for something, it's important that we are training our bodies from a diet standpoint to be able to take on whatever it is that our performance requires of us. So with golf, fueling your body appropriately to be able to withstand a continuous movement, whether you're walking on the course as well as swinging the club. But for the most part, it's 6 hours of walking and anywhere between 6 and 8 miles of walking. You have to make sure that your body's prepared for that. That means preparing food throughout the day that you can eat, and making sure that the food that you're eating throughout the day will keep your energy levels at the right level, the appropriate level, rather than having some insulin spikes and crashes where your mind is completely sharp while you have that insulin spike, and then you start to see a little bit of a crash as you start to come down from that sugar high. So with golf, it's a sustained activity, so we're going to want to front load some of our diet on the days that we're actually competing with fats. Fats are going to be kind of the embers of the fire that continue to fuel us throughout the day and fuel our energy throughout the day and throughout our round. As we start to come to the later portions of our round, we can then start to introduce some slower digesting carbohydrates that will also continue to extend the amount of energy that we have for the round. That way our mind is sharp and we are staying at the same consistent energy levels throughout the entirety of that round to make sure that we're performing at the best of our abilities. To use another example, we can talk about somebody that might be training for a triathlon. If you are training for a triathlon, your goal is to get better at the triathlon. So what this means is that you need to be having very good training sessions leading up to the actual competition. If your body is not fueled appropriately for the training sessions, then you're really only accomplishing and training at about 70%, if that, efficacy. So if your body's not fueled, you're going to be tired during your training sessions, and you're not going to be getting as much out of the time spent training for the activity that you're trying to improve at. So what this means is fueling your body appropriately, not just for the activity and the day of that you're performing the triathlon, but more importantly for the training sessions. So again, early mornings, fueling yourself with some fats that are going to fuel you throughout the day. But then prior to the training session and the lifting session or the longer run, bike, whatever it might be, making sure that you have consumed enough carbohydrates to keep you satiated throughout the entirety of the training session, not just to keep your mind sharp, but to keep your body fueled so that you're placing the appropriate amount of stress on your body to then in turn see the return on that stress and that training in improved strength, improved times, improved speed, whatever it might be. Again, if we're not fueling our bodies appropriately for our training sessions, then we're not getting everything out of our training sessions. And we can now contrast that with somebody who might just be exercising. Is it necessarily healthy or advisable to have somebody that is not training for a triathlon or performing workouts on a daily basis to improve their performance at a triathlon consume as many carbohydrates and as many calories as someone that's just exercising? Probably not. Oftentimes with performance athletes, they'll even supplement carbohydrates throughout the duration of the activity that they're performing. This is highly advisable for somebody that's training for something, but is this healthy for someone that's just working out for 45 minutes to an hour a day so that they can feel better, so that they have a little bit more mental clarity, and so that they can perform better in other aspects of their life, whether that is being the best friend or parent or sibling they can be, being the best professional they can be at their job. Probably doesn't make the most sense to encourage those individuals to be super front loading their days with a high fat breakfast and then having X plus number of carbohydrates prior to their workout session. What's far more important with somebody that is using movement and using exercise to improve other aspects of their life is making sure that they truly have a well-rounded diet, making sure that they're consuming enough protein to keep their bones and their joints healthy, making sure they have enough carbohydrates to keep them satiated and full throughout the day without experiencing those insulin spikes. There's nothing worse than having a nice big lunch, maybe a cheeseburger and some French fries, and then going back to your desk or going back to Zoom meetings and feeling that immediate insulin drought, where you're tired and all you can think about is having a nap. So when we talk about nutrition, as with anything that we've talked about, whether it's programming or next week when we talk about recovery, the difference between exercising and training is extremely important, because advising somebody to consume the amount of calories and the breakdown of macronutrients that someone training for something would require, but having somebody that's just purely exercise follow that same diet is not healthy and does not make sense. Likewise, if you take the flip side of that, pushing a diet on someone who is training for something that is designed for somebody that is just simply using movement and workouts as a form of exercise is also not advisable, because there will not be enough calories that individual will be consuming to fuel their training sessions. And when you are training for something, the training sessions are almost as important, if not more important, than the actual event that you are training for. And if you're not fueled appropriately, then you're not getting the most out of those workouts and those training sessions. And you're honestly wasting a bit of your time if you're not fueling your body appropriately. So if you have any questions as it relates to nutrition or any of the past topics that we've talked about related to training versus exercising, and the topic of programming workouts for one versus the other, or programming nutrition and diet recommendations for one versus the other, please feel free to reach out. While I have no direct certifications or degrees, or have necessarily studied anything related to nutrition or diet, I am speaking from firsthand experience as someone that has trained for a number of different things, played sports and played golf in college, and competed at a pretty high level in CrossFit. So through that personal experience, I'm able to speak to some of these diet and nutrition things. But on our team at MooseFit, we also have some great, very well-versed nutritionists as well as dietitians that we can connect you with to help you understand your body and understand the way that you should be fueling your body, depending on if you are training or if you are exercising and dependent upon your goals. So for those of you that tuned in, I think at one point we had 4 people live, which is awesome. We're growing slowly but surely. I will, like I said, be posting this on our story as well as the Instagram TV. So hopefully we'll get some more views and some more people listening in, because this is an important differentiation to make between the way you should be fueling your body for exercise versus the way that you should be fueling your body for training. And if you're doing one for the other, if you're kind of swapping them, it can be detrimental to not just the way that you're performing, but also to your overall health and wellness. So it's important to understand and make sure you're practicing these differences depending on your goals and depending on if you are training or exercising. So thanks again for tuning in. Next week, we'll be talking about recovery, specifically data that we receive from all of the wearables and all of the different sources of data that we get around our workouts, and how we should be analyzing this data and thinking about this data depending on if we're training or if we're exercising. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.